Hello.
Good evening.
Uh,
Evening.
right. Yeah, good evening to all of you. I was waiting for few people to join. I think only two are there. Am I audible?
Yes,
sir.
we can.
Shall we go ahead with the presentations? I think others will join in between. Hello.
Yes, we can. You can proceed.
You can see me, no?
Yes, we can clearly see you.
Okay. Right. So first of all, good evening to all of you. I think others will join in between. And in this lecture, this is the first lecture in this series. So I have been conducting for the past few sessions in the same lecture. And first, we need to identify this aspect through few questions. That is, who is an engineer, who is a manager, and what to manage, how to manage, and also finally, you will be able to understand who am I. Who is an engineer? Before that, we need to see what is engineering. An activity essential for meeting the needs of people, economic development, and the provisions of services to society. It involves the purposeful application of mathematical and natural sciences and a body of engineering, that is knowledge, technology, and the techniques. It seeks to produce solutions of which the effects are predicted to the greatest degree possible in often uncertain contexts. Therefore, the engineering must be carried out responsibly and ethically. It should use available resources efficiently. Also be economic, safeguard health and safety, be environmentally sound and sustainable, and also manage risk. That is throughout the entire life cycle of a system. Therefore, coming on to the engineering practitioners, this is typical engineering activities requires several roles, including those of the engineer, also engineering technologists and engineering technicians. It recognized as professional registration categories. When it comes to the roles, they are defined by their distinctive competencies and their levels of responsibility to the public. That is a degree of overlap between roles. The distinctive competencies, together with their educational underpinnings, are defined in the publication, that is, graduate attributes and professional competencies by International Engineering Alliance. When you go through this IEEA, you will come to know all these competencies. Who are the engineering practitioners? That is, process of development of an engineering professional in any of the categories. What is the first stage? Attainment of an accredited educational qualification. That is the graduate stage. So why I am explaining this, when you go through the engineering management, you need to know all these basic aspects of engineering practitioners. Purpose of engineering education is to build a knowledge-based attributes. It is to continue learning and to proceed to formative development that will develop the competencies required for independent practices as the engineer. Purpose of formative development is to develop the competences required for independent practice in which the graduate works with engineering practitioners. From an assistant role, individual and team responsibility. You start with the assistant role and then come to the team responsibility until competence can be demonstrated at the level required for registration. What is the second stage? The second stage is from formative development to professional registration. Once registered, the practitioner must maintain and expand competence. Several international accords provide for recognition of graduates of accredited programs, each signatory by the remaining signatories. What is WA, that is the Washington Accord, provides for mutual recognition of programs accredited for the engineer track. The Sydney Accord establishes mutual recognition of accredited qualification for engineering technologists. The Dublin Accord provides for mutual recognition of accredited qualifications for engineering technicians. Each jurisdiction may define performance indicators, that is, actions on the part of the candidate and that demonstrate competences. For an example, a design competence may be evidenced by the following performance. Identified and analyze design planning requirement and draw up a detailed requirement specifications. Synthesize a range of potential solutions to problems or approaches to project execution. Evaluate potential approaches to meet requirements and their responsible impact. Then the fully developed design of selection options and produce design documentation for implementation. What is engineering management? So engineering management is the generic management function of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, applied together with engineering knowledge in context, including the management of projects, constructions, operations, maintenance, business, etc. When it comes to the engineering fundamentals, it is a systematic formulation of engineering concepts and principles based on mathematical and natural science to support applications. When it comes to the engineering problem, it is a problem that exists in any domain that can be solved by the application of engineering knowledge and skills and generic competences. Now we will see the nature and scope of management, knowing the basics of engineering practitioners and other aspects of engineering. Why management? Because the resources are limited. Organizations deal with uncertainties and unexpected events. That is the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It copes with diverse and far-reaching challenges. For an example, ever-advancing technologies. The shift toward new ways of working enables of technology puts additional demand on today's managers. In the new world of work, managers need a new approach that relies less on command and control and more on coordination and communication. This is why we learn engineering management. It is not like in the early stage on command and control, but it more depends upon the coordination and cooperation in the societal and the development of the engineering. The field of management is undergoing a revolution that asks managers to do more with less, as I said, because of the less resources, and also targeting the return on investments, economy of efforts. Then engage all employees. You take part your management should be able to coordinate, cooperate, communicate with all parts of the layers of the organization and engage to the specific vision, mission, and goals and objectives of the organization. Then it should see change rather than stability as the nature of things, because it should go for the change, as we have talked in the last slide, with the ever advancing technology and other diverse situations. Also, it should inspire vision, cultural values that allow people to create a truly collaborative and productive workplace. So the approach differs significantly from a traditional mindset that emphasizes tight top-down control. Like traditionally, it was the top-down control, employee separation, and specialization, and management by impersonal measurement and analysis. That is the traditional way of handling engineering management. What is the future then? It is the making a difference as a manager today and tomorrow. It requires integrating solid, tried, and true management skills with innovative approaches that emphasize the human touch, enhance flexibility, and engage all employees, their hearts and minds, as well as their bodies together. As per the Stoner and Freeman, management definition is the process of planning, organization, leading, and controlling the work of organization members and of using all available organizational resources to reach all organizational goals. Organizations, two or more people who work together in a structured way to achieve a specific goal or set of goals. Organizations bring together knowledge, people, raw material to perform tasks no individual could do alone. That it involves men, material, and funds. Also, as per the Griffin W. Rickey, management is a set of activities, including planning and decision making, organizing, leading, and controlling, directed at an organization resources. What are the resources? Human, financial, and physical, and informational, with the aim of achieving organizational goals in an efficient and effective manner. What is effectiveness? There are two distinctive words we come across always: efficiency and effectiveness. Effectiveness is the ability to determine appropriate objectives, doing the things right, as per Peter Drucker. Efficiency is the ability to minimize the use of resources in achieving organizational objectives. That is, doing the things right. Let us see what are the principal combinations of effectiveness and efficiency. So if you put into four chords of this effectiveness and efficiency, which is efficient and effective, that is, the organization will thrive. When it comes to the effective but inefficient, it just survive. So efficient, but it is not effective. Ineffective and efficient, that means that organization will slowly die. Other one is which will quickly die, ineffective, also inefficient. So Merritt Parker Follett has said, the art of getting things done through the people. This definition recognizes the role and importance of other people. Peter Drucker said, the job of managers is to give direction to their organization, provide leadership, and decide how to use organizational resources to accomplish goals. Manager create the right system, condition, and environment that enable organizations to survive and thrive beyond the tenure of any specific supervisor or manager. A shared sense of purpose and pride. A passion for change, that is open-mindedness and willingness to take risk. Also an obsession with people and making them the best they can be. What is open-mindedness? It is described as a desire to see and experience new things. As per the regression, open-mindedness consists of two factors, that is cosmopolitan orientation, an attitude of openness to others, values and practices, and cultural flexibility, the willingness to experiment with different environment, as per Manning 2003. What is open-minded inquiry? Acquire information about trends, events, opportunities, and threats in the environment through scanning, direct experience, imitation, or problem solving. Inquires in a more thoughtful and systematic fashion in the belief that all decisions start with the environment. Why this is important? Acquiring information, true information, correct fact and figures are very important. Therefore, you should inquire very open-mindedly about all these trends, event, opportunities, threats, etc. in the environment. This is called the environmental scan. There are different methods to do that, like pestle analysis, which when you go to the higher studies, you will know it's a separate tool which you can do this environmental scanning. So it is very important to do this and acquire correct information, fact and figures, so that later you can analyze and take the deduction for correct decision making. Now let us see what are the functions of management. The key functions of management are fourfolded, that is planning, the process of establishing goals, and a suitable course of action for achieving those goals. This is done by anybody, even if you are preparing for this B paper, you have to do the planning. That is the process of establishing goals. You have to set some goals for preparation of these exams. Then suitable course of action for achieving those goals. So once you set these goals, then you are setting up some course of actions to achieve those goals. That is during the planning. Once you plan, what will happen? Then second stage is organizing. You have to organize. It reflects how the organization tries to accomplish the plan. That means you yourself, how you are organizing to accomplish, to achieve this, the good result of this examination. It involves arranging and allocating work. You need to allocate work yourself. Likewise, you need to allocate organization, authority, and resources. In your individual case, it is you who allocate yourself. If it is an organization, as an engineer, manager, you have to have the authority and resources among organization members so that they can achieve an organization's goal. These goals has to be aligned with the organization goals. Third one is as a leader, also a manager. Leading is creating a shared culture and values, communicating goals to employees. As we discussed, how communicating and cooperation is very important throughout the organization and influencing employees with desire to perform the task-related activities of group members or an entire organization at a higher level. The last one is the controlling. The process of ensuring that actual activities conform to planned activities. This is a closed loop. It is a control loop. So you will have to have feedback. You get the correct feedback and apply the control process to achieve your adjustment to reach the particular goal. When it comes to the management skills, it is to perform these functions. Managers require a range of skills. We have discussed 4 key management functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. In order to function, you have to inbuilt with you as an engineer, you should be a good manager with management skills. So one is the conceptual skills. That is the cognitive ability to see. Your cognitive ability to see organizations as whole and the relationship among its parts. Conceptual skills involve the manager's thinking, how you think, information processing, how you process information with your brain. Then coordination, how you coordinate with others, integrating and planning abilities. This conceptual skill is very important. Then human skills, the ability to work with, understand, and motivate other people as individuals or groups. As workforce diversity, uncertainty, and societal turbulence increases, human skills become even more important. You have already experienced during last year how the turbulence increased in Sri Lanka, now in the recent past in Bangladesh. In this kind of situation, what can be the engineer's management role? So it is not only engineering professional subject, but also the human skills that you require to have your organizational development during the societal turbulence increase. What are the qualities of successful relationship building? Trust. It is two-dimensional. Trust is very important when firms exchange in situation where perceived outcome of trust is uncertain and vulnerable. Credibility. A firm's belief that its partners stand by its words, fulfill promised role obligation, and it's sincere. So you have to be very credible. It's a firm belief. So you have to walk the talk. Benevolence. A firm's belief that its partner is interested in the firm's welfare, in willing to accept short-term dislocations, and also will not make unexpected actions that would have a negative impact on the firm. That is self-explanatory. When it comes to the commitment, an implicit or explicit pledge of relation continuity between exchange partners. Commitment implies a willingness to make short-term sacrifices to realize longer-term benefits. Commitment generally does not change often. So it requires a short-term sacrifications by realizing long-term benefits. A key distinct characteristic of commitment is that parties spontaneously and purposefully engage resources to maintain the relationship. Commitment provides a foundation for the development of social norms of governance, which are considered important mechanisms for regulating long-term relations, exchange, and reducing opportunism. So it is basically talk about the good governance. Therefore, commitment provides a foundation for the development of good governance, where the organization will have a very healthy and peaceful environment for the growth. Therefore, engineer, as a manager, you should know good governance to have this development. Relative skills for effective performance at different levels of management. There are 3 levels of management we discussed as shown in the diagram. lower management, middle management, and top management. For the top management, we have discussed it required conceptual skills, which we discussed earlier. In the middle management, it requires human relations skills, which we discussed. So the lower management required technical skills. What are the technical skills? That is the ability to use the procedures, techniques, and knowledge of a specialized field. This triangle, in a very simplified manner, we all should know as an engineers when you are performing your duty as managers. So 3 level of functions, top level, middle level, and lower level. That what are the skills that required by those 3? Therefore, if you know only, you can develop those skills. Otherwise, without knowing the conceptual skills, top managers trying to do the management will end up doing the lower management, that is technical skills and their jobs. Therefore, the top level must have conceptual skills developed. What are the managerial roles? Let us see. Interpersonal roles, that is figurehead, symbolic head, obliged to perform a number of routine duties of a legal or social nature. He is responsible for motivation and activation of subordinates, responsible for staffing, training, and associate duties. Liaison, another interpersonal role, maintains self-development network of outside contacts and informers who provides favors and information. Informational roles is a monitor, seeks and receives wide variety of specialist information. Much of its current information should be current and should not be outdated. That is called valid information. It should be tested for validity. To develop throughout understanding of organization and environment, emerges as a nerve center of internal and external information about the organization. Disseminator. Disseminator transmit information received from outsiders from other subordinates to members of the organization. It should not be distorted. He should disseminate it in a proper manner. Some information is factual. Some involves interpretations and integration of diverse value position of organization influences. Some information you can disseminate as it is in the raw category, that is because they are factual. Other information you have to interpret by inculcating the value position of the organizational influencers. I hope you understand that. So, spokesperson transmit information outside an organization plans, policies, actions, results, etc. Serves as expert on organizations, industries. So, he will speak out on behalf of the organization. These are the informational roles. What are the decisional roles of an engineer as a manager? Entrepreneur. He searches organizations and its environment for opportunities and initiates improvements projects to bring out change. We discussed about barely sustaining, which is not the case, but to develop with the change, with the diverse advanced technology and other aspects of development. Supervisors design of certain project as well. Then he should be a disturbance handler. He is responsible for corrective action when organization faces important unexpected disturbances, as I have mentioned earlier during the Aragalaya and like in Bangladesh recent cases, and also In UK, like far-right movements, and some other countries, wars and lot of disturbance movement like Ukraine and Iran and Palestine, all those places, the engineers, they have to involve this decisional role, very important in disturbance handlers. Otherwise, their countries and their organizations development is in question. So therefore, you need to know how to handle the disturbance. He should be a resource allocator. He is responsible for the allocation of organizational resources of all kinds, in effect, the making of approval of all significant organization decisions. Why this is important? We have discussed at the beginning why the engineering management is important. Why it is important? Because resources are less, as we discussed earlier. So we have to manage properly. Therefore, you have to have a decisional role. You have to have entrepreneurship, disturbance handler, and resource allocator. And also, he should be a good negotiator. He is responsible for representing the organization and major negotiations. There are many cases where the organization where you are working as an engineer, you have to go and face for negotiations. When you go to the higher tenders, there are so many conditions. You have to go for pre-bid meeting. You have to go for negotiation even before awarding the tenders, after awarding the tenders, even certain handling of issues. Therefore, you have to develop your negotiation skills and also responsible for representing the organization at major negotiations. So to do all this, leadership is very important. Leadership plays a vital role in organization in providing directions and facilitating the process that enables organizations to achieve their goals and objectives. Leaders not only directly influence the behavior of members, but their actions also influences the perception of members, which lead to norms and expectations of appropriate conduct that become ingrained in the organization climate. Leaders' actions both directly and indirectly establish the ethical tone of an organization. As an engineer, I know you all are undergoing the study of ethical context as an engineer, and also you have to practice all ethical concept as an engineer. Similarly, organizations has their ethic based on their values. So as a leader, your actions both directly as an example and also indirectly establish the ethical tone of your organization. Therefore, leaders can impact of organization outcome through either direct mean or indirect mean, such as formulating corporate level strategy or effectively managing the symbols that help build commitment of employees to organizations. When it comes to the leadership definition, it is the process of directing and influencing the task-related activities of group members. It is the process of moving groups of individuals in a desired direction through largely non-coercive means. According to John French and Bertrand Ravin, we talk about source of power. One is the reward power. The reward power is the person's ability to reward another person, out orders or meeting performance requirement. Coercive power influences ability to punish the influence for not meeting requirements. As a leader, you should know what are the source of power and how to use it. So what is reward power? What is coercive power? In different places, different time, different condition, different people use differently. This is the art of it. When it comes to the legitimate powers, exist when subordinate acknowledge that the influencer is entitled to exert influence within certain bounds. It is also implied that influencee has an obligation to accept this power, or legitimate power is written, it is bounded. So most of the time, it is put in black and white. Expert power is based on the perception of belief that the influencer has some relevant expertise or special knowledge that the influencee does not. This is where your competency level is very important. Subject knowledge, local knowledge, past knowledge, and current knowledge. So whatever the subject you handle as an engineer, whether it is a project or some other means, it is important to have expert power within you. If you don't have, it is your responsibility to develop and be skillful with that power, because you can exercise where the influencee does not have. Referent power is based on the influencee's desire to identify with or imitate the influencer. That is, leaders' ability to inspire and influence others. When it comes to this, it is about the leadership. We know different kind of leaderships are there. Charismatic leadership, then participative leadership, then autocratic leadership, then bureaucratic leadership. Likewise, there are different type of leaders. So when you develop all these things, now in combination, all these things you can talk about the situational leadership, which is adjustable to many kind of leaderships. So by exercising those things, you can use your referent power as a leader in situations. Leaders' roles vary in terms of the level of the organization. Katz and Kahn in 1978 and Mintzberg 1973 have noted the qualitatively different nature of managerial and leaders' role across the levels. In the same vein, Dan Lord 1988 claims that leadership at lower levels is qualitatively different from upper level leadership. So you need to identify these aspects. According to Katz and Kahn, leaders at the top level create organizational structure, formulate policies, and develop corporate strategies. This is called, from the top level, if you take the country, that is developing of a grand strategy of the country. Then ministerial levels and down below. That is their organizational strategic plans. From the strategic plans, then the second middle level leaders interpret the elaborate structure, policy, and strategy. That is the operational level. In the operational level, they elaborate their structures, policies, and strategies in achieving these things. That is the planning and organization part. In the lower level, what happened? Lower level leaders use technical knowledge, rewards, and sanctions to administer existing structure. That is the tactical level handling. In the same context, Webster contests that the corporate level leaders define what businesses the company in determine the mission, vision, and shape and structure of the firm. At the business unit level, leaders determine the orientation the firm adopts to compete, include the particular core competencies developed at the functional level to achieve a competitive advantage. Functional leaders facilitate the creation of specific capabilities that contribute to core competencies. What are the leadership approaches? Trait approach, behavioral approach, and the contingent approach. Trait approach described about evolved from great man theory, which is brighter, more extroverted, self-competent, assertive, sociable, and self-confident, and it is dominance. Trait approach concerned with identifying the personality trait of a leader. In searching for measurable leadership traits, researchers have taken two approaches. That is, compare the traits of those who have emerged as leaders with the trait those who have not. You compare with two leader who is having the traits and who is not having. Then compare the traits of effective leader with those of ineffective leader. Also, you can compare these two. Who is the effective leader, who is ineffective leader. Then what are the traits and compare those. In the behavioral approach, it looks the behavior of a leader. So you look upon to the leader, how he might contribute to leadership success or failure. Leadership functions are task-related or problem-solving. It can be a problem-solving or task-related. Group maintenance and social functions. What are the leadership styles? Task-oriented styles or employee-oriented styles. When it comes to the leadership traits, it refers to the personal qualities that define effective leader. So it will be effective communication, so motivated. The leader may be people-oriented or maybe emotionally stable, also is accountable and responsible. If bad leader may be too busy boss, fearful or change, unable to communicate effectively, lacking empathy towards their employees, then inconsistent. So he is jerky and also indecisive. He cannot take decisions. So when it comes to the motivation, let's go through the definition. Motivation is the set of force that cause people to behave in certain ways. So as a manager, you should develop these leadership skills to motivate your men under command or all the employees. It is a human psychological factor. That characteristic contribute to person's degree of commitment. The driving force within individuals that implies them to actions. This driving force is produced by a state of tension which exists as the result of an unfulfilled needs. Positive and negative motivation. Motivation can be positive or negative in direction. We may feel a driving force towards some object or conditions, or driving force away from some object or condition. Therefore, it is a double-ended weapon. You should use in a correct path, correct direction. Contemporary views of motivation. Content theories, what motivate people. One is the Maslow's hierarchy of need. You should know as a manager. Then ERG theory. Then two-factor theory of motivation. Psychological, physiological needs. That is the basic need. Hunger, thirst, shelter, sex, etc. Then it comes to the safety need. That is security and protection. Then the social need are affection, belongingness, acceptance, and friendship. When it comes to the esteem needs, self-respect, autonomy, or recognition. Then the self-actualization. What one person is capable of becoming. So let's see through this Maslow hierarchy of needs. We have discussed about the basic needs, that is physiological needs, food, shelter, etc., which we discussed now. Then the safety and security needs. Then the social needs. So growing the ladder, then it goes to the esteem or the egoistic needs. Once you have fulfilled all these needs, what remains is the self-actualization needs, which is the top part of the hierarchy of needs. So why do you need to understand these needs as a manager? So you should know everybody is a human being. They will have this need in a different level. Your workers from the gatekeeper at the entrance, your cleaner, the PN, your staff, clerical, then line managers and junior engineers and the middle management. Likewise, when you take from bottom to top, their needs are different. Therefore, it is required to know their needs in order to manage that. When it comes to the Herzberg's two-factor theory, that is factors that lead to job dissatisfaction. There are two factors. What is job dissatisfaction? Other one is the job satisfaction. Security issues. Company policy and administration can become issues. Supervision can become issues. Relationship with supervisors also can be an issue. Then working conditions, which is not suitable, can lead to dissatisfaction. Salary, of course, very difficult to satisfy, so it can become job dissatisfaction. Then the relationship with peers. What are the satisfaction factors? Achievement, work itself, responsibility, recognition, achievement, growth. Therefore, as an engineer, you need to understand these two aspects and have a conducive environment for work-life balance. All are human beings. So as managers, you have to manage the human resources. Therefore, it is required to have a work-life balance by knowing job satisfaction as well as job dissatisfaction. Then the two-factor theory says dissatisfaction and satisfaction. These are the two hygiene factors. If you reduce the hygiene factors of dissatisfaction, it will drive towards no satisfaction. Okay, at that particular moment, this satisfaction will be nullified and there's no satisfaction, 0 point. Neither dissatisfaction. So you can't stop there. After reducing the hygiene factor as a manager, as an engineer, you have to try your men through the motivational factors which we have discussed previously with your leadership ability, managerial skills, conceptual skills, other traits. You have to drive them through the motivational factors to achieve the satisfaction. Then only your organization will grow. That is your responsibility as a manager. So these things should not be limited to theoretical aspects. All young engineers must learn all these theories and understand and practically implement to achieve your organizational goals through this dissatisfaction and bringing to a satisfaction level. When it comes to the Clayton-Alderfer's ERG theory, that is existent relatedness and growth, a theory of job motivation that says people strive to meet a hierarchy of existent relatedness and growth needs. It efforts to reach one level of needs are frustrated, individuals will regress to a lower level. Existence, connected with survival, that is psychological needs, physiological needs. Then relatedness, that is maintaining the interpersonal and social relatedness. Then physiological need to the interpersonal and social relatedness. And growth, that is needs for personal creativity or positive influence. That is the ERG theory, existent, relatedness, and growth. When I put in all these three theories in one table, Herzberg's two-factor theory talk about motivators and hygiene factors. We have discussed about the hygiene factors from reducing to the 0 and motivation factors towards motivation. Then Maslow's hierarchy theory from the physiological need, food, shelter, etc. Then the security, social and esteem, and ultimately self-actualization needs. LFS ERG theory about growth needs, relatedness needs, and existence needs. Process theories, expectancy theory, another one, which is theory of motivation that says that people choose how to behave from among alternative causes of behavior based on their expectation to what there is to gain from each behavior. Assumptions are behavior is determined by a combination of factors in the individual and factors in the environment. Individuals make concise decisions about their behaviors in the organization. Then assumption is to individuals have different needs, desires, and goals. And also individuals decide between alternative behaviors on the basis of the expectation that a given behavior will lead to a desired outcome. These are the assumptions. Then recommendations to the managers. You as an engineer and a manager, you determine the rewards valued by each employer. We talked about reward power previously. So you have to determine the rewards valued by each employee. Determine the performance you desire. You have to set their key performances. So these KPIs, you need to set it. Make the performance level attainable. As an engineering manager, it is not only keeping the key performance indicator, but it should be reachable through your conduct, through the organization and conduct, used in the resources. It should be attainable. Then once it is attained, use the reward for the performance. So this is required. Sometimes once you get the performance, you forget. No, it should be rewarded. Then only people will be satisfied and motivated. Then analyze what factors might counteract the effectiveness of the rewards. This is a process. While it is conducting, you have to analyze what are the factors it will be threat. So you can use different tools like SWOT. Make sure the reward is adequate. So you have to make sure what are the rewards that you do is as per their performance. They should be satisfied. When it comes to the decision making, aim is FASA is factors affecting selection of the aim. When you are selecting an aim in your decision making, you should consider all the factors. So once you consider factors affecting selection of the aims, then you deduct and come to the aim. Factors are considerations and deductions. Course of action, then all possible course of action, course A, course B, course C. Out of these course of actions, you have to select the best course of action. So you are not taking the decision straightforward. You are considering the factors, then taking deductions, then considering the different type of course of action as a manager, which is the best course of action after that. Then for the best course of action, you go for a plan. Once you go for the plan, then go to implementation part. That is organizing and conducting part. When it comes to the communication, there are different levels of communication according to the type of activities performed. For an engineering graduate, define it International Engineering Alliance. That is Washington Accord 9. Communicate effectively and inclusively. That is, it has to be effective at an all-inclusive required parties on complex engineering activities with the engineering community and with society at large, such as being able to comprehend and write effective reports. As an engineering manager, you have to write an effective reports and design documentation, making effective presentations, taking into account cultural, language, and learning differences. Otherwise, you will become fail. When you go to some part of the country or some part of the world and talk in that language, if you don't talk in that language, they will not understand. That is the difference of culture, difference of language. It is not you that who will be listening. You have to talk to others and communicate properly in order to understand effectively. And it should be all inclusive for the required parties. Effective communication is the process of sending a message in such a way that the message received is as close in meaning as possible to the message intended. It should be very meaningful and self-understood. And after that, when you are communicating, it should reach to the end user as close as possible that has been understood by yourself. Effective communication is receiver-oriented, not media-oriented. Therefore, as an engineering manager, your ability of communication is very important. It should be targeted to your receiver audience. So this is the simplest block diagram. As an engineers, you all know about this thing, communication engineers, is the basic block diagram. So you get the ideas and feelings, emotions on cognitively, your brain, that is, then you encode it, then it becomes the message, then it decode it from the receiver end, then there will be ideas, feelings, and emotions. What happened? In between, you will have noise, different disturbance. With that noise, this sender's message will be garbled or distorted. What you need to do is you have to set up a response mechanism and identify whether it has received correctly through a feedback system and judge, and if there are any additional way of communicating to keep the message in a correct path, correct manner, correct tone, again at that part and re-communicate. So this is the closed loop. The functions of communication in management. Why I emphasize on this part is, being an engineer, you will know lot of problem solving. But if you don't know how to communicate this, it becomes a problem. According to Scott and Michelle, communication serves four major parts with a group of organizations: control, motivational, emotional expressions, and information. What is control? Organizations have authority hierarchies and formal guidelines that employees are required to follow. Motivation, we have discussed, clarifying to employees what is to be done, how well they are doing, what can be done to improve performance if it is very below. Emotional expressions. For many employees, their workplace is a primary source for social interaction. As you all know, they spend sometimes 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours doing OTs. But the primary place is the workplace. That's why we have discussed work-life balance having. The communication that takes place within the group is fundamentally is a fundamental mechanism by which members show their frustration and feelings of satisfaction. As managers, you have to be very careful. This is the subversion stage. Communication, therefore, provides a release for the emotional expression of feelings and for fulfillment of social need. Where this is happening, in organization canteen or the welfare shop or some other restaurant or some other gathering place. So they have been expressed their emotional expressions freely. Some negative expressions may get together and these frequencies will be added together and it becomes a problem to the organization. This is called the subversion stage where the things are developed. So you have to be very careful, very informative to get all the information and address accordingly. Then information plays a big role in facilitating decision making, as we have discussed earlier. Correct information, factual information, filtered, analyzed properly is a very handy tool for decision making. It provides the information that individuals and groups need to make decisions by transmitting the data to identify and evaluate alternative choices. As we have discussed, different choices, different course of actions, and selecting the best course of action based on the fact and figures. 4 regions of information known by, not known by self and others. Let us discuss what are these 4 regions of information. Known by others. That means this particular information is known by others. Then unknown by others. This particular information is unknown by others. Then unknown by self. Then known by self. Then unknown by others and unknown by self will get into the trouble area. That is the red zone. This is totally unknown. Then known by others but unknown by you. That is called the blind spot. You don't know, but others know. Then that is a blind spot. Then known by you, but others don't know. That is unknown by others, known by you. That is called false front. This is also not good. Blind also not good. Unknown, this red area is totally blank. What is the best? Best is known by others and known by you. That is the arena that you have to work. Therefore, this is the arena that you have to work. It should be communicated properly. Information should be known by you, known by others. Therefore, less feedback to more feedback. And also less exposure to more exposure. Also, communication could be categorized into 2. This is the basic, we all know, verbal communication as well as non-verbal communication. Verbal communication can be oral, also written. Non-verbal communication is your body language, your expressions. As a leader, sometimes you don't have to speak a word. Just look at somebody and when they will understand. This is how you communicate. Sometimes silence itself is a communication means in a non-verbal manner. Barriers to effective communication, also very important. Different frames of preferences. Individuals can interpret the same communication differently based on their experience. The result is in variation in the encoding and decoding process. When the encoding and decoding process are alike, communication is more effective. When they are different, communication tends to break down. Self-understood, then communication overload. Too much of communication. Emotional reaction, anger, love, defensiveness, hate, jealousy, fear, embarrassment, influence how one understands the other's message and how one influences others with his own message. Then how to improve the communication? 2 separate tasks. Improve message, the information they wish to transmit, and the improve one's understanding of what other people are trying to communicate to them. One must become better encoders and decoders. Must strive not only to be understood, but also others should be understand. What are the techniques for improving communication? I'm taking a little bit more time in this communication because it is very important as an engineer when you are managing, engineer as a manager. Following up, that is, you have to follow up, attempting to determine whether your intended meaning was actually received. Regulation information flow. The ideas is based on the exception principle of management, which state that only significant deviation from policies and procedures should be brought to the attention of managers or managers. This technique ensures an optimum flow of information to managers, thereby eliminating the barriers of communication overload. Utilization feedback. Utilization feedback also provides a channel for receiver's response, enabling the communicator to determine whether the message has been received and has produced the intended response. Empathy improves the ability to put oneself in the other person's role and to assume the viewpoints and emotions of that person's. Self-understood, then the simplifying language, then effective listening. Good method of encourage someone to express true feelings, desires, and emotions is to listen. Stop talking, put the speaker at ease. Show the speaker you want to listen. Remove distraction. Emphasize with the speaker, be patient. So another very important aspect is the perceptual distortion. What is perceptual distortion? How you perceive. While you are perceiving things, there can be distortions in yourself. Therefore, perceptual distortion very important to identify. If you don't identify this as an engineering manager, you will continue to act in the same manner with the distortion. It happens when the stated views differ from an ordinary action. This is a component of individual contrast, for instance, in perceptual style and is theoretically not the same as mental tips and optical dreams. As recognition replies upon the perceiver's present perspective, part, and conception, there could simply be mistakes in the explanation. Let us see how. One is stereotyping. What is stereotyping? It is about putting away general data about social gathering, race, sex, age, nationalities, politicians, association, physical or mental capacity, etc. An essential part of this is that the regularly contain data about stable identity attributes. Stereotyping enables us to anticipate conduct since they are encode relationship between social classification, circumstances, and practices. For an example, it is often said that men are the earning members of the family, and that women are only meant for household. It is an statement. But when you look at the society or some other country, it is not the same. In one town or village, it may be true, but it is not true for another. It may be true for Sri Lanka. When it comes to India, it may not be true. When it comes to the Western country, it may not be true. So therefore, this perceptual distortion may affect. Therefore, you need to really analyze the fact and figures and take your judgments. Then the halo effect. It is the way whereby we accept that since individuals are great at completing task A, they will be great at doing B. So when you are practically doing your engineering management, we are going your hierarchy in your position, in your organization or your company, you are given a task, you are given a project. You think you based on the last task, okay, this person has done this job properly, so I will give the same job to other job also to him. But it not maybe it's the same job. But without analyzing, just because he has done this job, you are giving that job. But he may not be able to do it properly. So that is halo effect. The expressions was firstly created by Edward Thorndike, a psychologist who utilized it is an examination distributed in 1920 to portray the way that bosses praise their officers. Now you can imagine it's almost over a century. Still, it is true. This effect can be seen in real world, where the halo effect impacts how instructors treat students, as well as affect how students see instructors. So just one paper somebody has done in one subject, instructor think that particular student is good in other subject as well, which is not the case. That is called halo effect. Selective perception, procedures by which one just see what he or she feels is correct, totally disregarding the contradicting perspective. See the things just as they wish to see and not what the real picture is. This is basically putting on their own glasses and through the own colors seeing the things. But when they see from that, they will see only through the same lenses, which is not the case. This is selective perception. This often happens in real life, where when someone comes and tells you good deeds about a third person, somebody coming and telling good things about another person and mention only one flaw, we tend to ignore all the positive aspects. So we don't care about all the positive things and concentrate only on the negative aspects, which was informed to us, and we start forming an opinion based on the third person. Then what is about the projection? Projection is type of mechanism in which undesirable emotions are uprooted onto someone else. So typically type of projections happen when an individual undermined but by his own furious emotions blames another for harboring unfriendly contemplation. For an example, a husband who has a hostile nature, so he's very angry, and he's attributing his hostility to his wife and say she has an anger management problem, but real problem is with himself. So this is the projection. You are projecting your emotions to somebody else. This is also a kind of perceptual distortion, projection. We have discussed about halo effect, then stereotyping and projection. Also, selective perception. These four types are very important. Okay. One is stereotyping, other one is halo effect, other one is selective perception, and the other one is projection. Therefore, being an engineer, in your management, engineer as a manager, when you are growing up high in your ladder, managing in very large organizations, large projects, it is very important to develop your managerial skills. That is the main aim of this module of the B paper, which will come very handy to you in your professional practice. So all the students, I urge you to go through all these slides and refer certain books or the certain terminologies. If you don't have, my email address also there. You can send an email if you need. I will help you out. It is very important to develop skills that which I have mentioned as a leader, as a manager. What are the traits that you should have? What are the qualities that you should develop? What are the situations that you handle? What type of organizations exist? What are the motivational theories? How to achieve a growth in your organization, not just to sustain. How to identify the diverse situations in your organization, in your project, in your project management, and manage properly, keeping your KPIs, keeping your organizational objectives organizational goals and organizational achieving missions, and finally to reach the organizational vision. So therefore, it has to identify tactical level, technical skills that you require. Then the middle level, managerial skills that you require, and the top level, strategic management, cognitive and perceptual level skills that you require. So in order to identify it, you have to understand all these three-dimensional aspects and also all the qualities of a manager, qualities of a leader. So I hope, I believe now you can answer yourself once you learn all these things, who you are. Who am I? Engineer and a manager. Earlier, you may be only an engineer, but now you are also a manager. This is called engineering management. It is applicable to your own self, then your own group of people who work, own task, own project, and own organization. Finally, when it comes to the large organization, maybe to that large organization level, maybe a ministerial level or the large group of companies. So this is the importance of engineering management. So as student, I believe that you will go through all the slides and learn and make sure the importance of this managerial aspect of an engineer, where we find most of the time engineers get failed. So it is very important to have good managerial qualities as an engineer. So while emphasizing that, I would like to conclude my presentation. I think there are 14 participants as of now, and I hope you will be benefited through this and through your B paper. When you are writing your paper, do not stick to theoretical part, just extract whatever they are in the theoretical part, but explain with your own ideas, own perception, own knowledge, how best it could be managed. So that practical application is very much important. In order to have that, this theoretical basement is required. You learn, go through, and collaborate your existing experience and try to put something innovative in the paper, the way that you can think. I believe this will help. And thank you very much. Good night.